Many modern evangelicals readily admit that they can't understand the Trinity. They can't even explain it. They just believe it. And even their congregations just believe in the Trinity, even though their congregations are looking for answers. They're looking for an explanation. Then they wonder why, when they have these radio or television call-in shows or the comments online, the same question keeps popping up. Please explain to me the Trinity. I remember a few years back, the late Dr. Robert Morey had a radio call-in show, and I was listening to it on WDCX. I was listening to it, and a caller calls in and asked him, please, Dr. Robert Morey, can you please explain to me the Trinity? And this is Dr. Robert Morey's answer. I remember this vividly. He says to him, he says, listen, you're a man, and if you can understand the Trinity, that means you're higher than men in your understanding. You're on the same level as God. But since you're not on the same level as God, you're just a man, there's no way you can understand the Trinity. That was his answer. I guess he's admitting that he can't understand the Trinity either. And then they wonder why their congregations are left in a state of confusion. And I remember Dr. Robert Morey a few years back, he published my paper in his Journal of Apologetics here. He published my paper on Islam. There it is, Origins of Islam by Peter Salemi. He sent me this. He published my paper on Islam, and he also sent me this book because he knew that I didn't believe in the Trinity. So he sent me this book, The Trinity, Evidences and Issues, and even wrote here, he even signed it there, and he says, it took me 40 years of research to produce this book, like that's supposed to impress me. Even though I thanked him for publishing my paper, but I didn't agree with him on the Trinity. But notice what he says here on page 483. He pretty much gives the same explanation that he gave his caller there on his radio show. Notice what it says here on page 483. It says, Trinitarians readily admit that the Trinity is beyond our finite capacity to understand or explain Him. This is what he says. Obviously, no one can explain why or how God is what He is. He existed long before we were around, and He is what He is, regardless whether we can fully understand or explain Him. So he doesn't understand the Trinity. Notice here, Trinity apologist Dr. Robert Bowman, who writes this in his book, Why You Should Believe in the Trinity. Here's his explanation. Another aspect of God's oneness is the fact that there are no separations or divisions or partitions in God. The Trinitarian doctrine holds that God is a single, infinite being transcending the bounds of time and space, having no body, really. The Bible says that God does have a body. He told Moses that I'll put my hand over your face and I will show you my back parts. And he saw God. The Bible says that God has a body. But anyways, either material or spiritual, even though the Bible plainly says that God has a spirit body. Then it says, thus the Trinitarian God has no parts. You cannot divide infinite being into components. The Athanasian Creed, not the Bible, the Athanasian Creed affirms that God is not divided by the three persons when it states that the Trinitarian faith does not allow for dividing the substance, using substance to mean the essence or being of God. The three persons, consequently, are not three parts of God, but three personal distinctions within God, each of whom is fully God. You understand it now? It says here, the title of the book, Why You Should Believe in the Trinity. Is that a good explanation of why you should believe in the Trinity? Or does just the pinball machine goes tilt and you're just left in a state of confusion? The Bible plainly says, these guys say you can't understand who or what God is, but the Bible says the complete opposite. It says here in Matthew, the 11th chapter, verse 27. Matthew 11:27, it says, that all things are delivered unto me of my Father. And no man knoweth the Son, but the Father, neither knoweth any man the Father save the Son, and he to whomsoever the Son will reveal him. So it is revealed knowledge, which we find in the pages of the Bible. The Bible is the revealed knowledge. So it says that God can be known. It has to be revealed to the person. Notice Jeremiah, the 9th chapter, verse 24. It says, "But let him that glorieth glory in this, that he understandeth and knoweth me, that I am the eternal." So God can be known and God can be understood. And when we look at the Bible, we see the Father and the Son. What is that? It's a family. God is a family consisting of the Father and the Son. And they are both called God, or Elohim. And Elohim doesn't mean, when you think of the word God, you think of an absolute one on a throne, an absolute one person. But the Bible shows that Elohim means the kind, like saying human. As it says in Genesis, the 5th chapter, God called their name, Adam and Eve, their name Adam. They are both Adam, meaning the kind. And Jesus and the Father are the same kind. They are both God. Just like my son and I are both human. The Father and the Son are both God. The Bible plainly says that God is a family. Notice this prophecy in Zechariah, the 13th chapter, verse 7. There's a prophecy of the Messiah, and God says this, "Awake, O sword, against my shepherd, against the man who is my fellow." That word fellow in the Hebrew should read kin or family. The Messiah is the same family as God the Father. The God family, the God kind. Notice in John, the 1st chapter, John 1, in verse 14, it talks about the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, John 1:14, and it says this, "And we beheld his glory, the glory as the only begotten of the Father." Now that word only begotten in the Greek is monogenes, and it means only, mono meaning only, begotten is genes, that's where we get our word genes from, and it means the only race, stock, kind, family of the Father. The Father and the Son are the same family. They are part of the Elohim family, the God kind. That's why it says here, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. Jesus is the same kind as God the Father, the God kind. Just like my son and I are the same kind. We are both human. So the Bible plainly says that God is a family, and if we stick to the Bible, then it all makes sense. But when we add our ideas into the Bible, like the doctrine of the Trinity, well, then we are left in a state of confusion. So the doctrine of the Trinity is one large biblical misconception.